Why do only 1% of candidates receive a consulting offer? In this video, you will learn the 4-step framework that high-performing candidates use to secure multiple offers from top consulting firms. But that's not all. As a seasoned case interview coach, I have found the best strategies to crack your case interview. In this video, we will use many examples, including this problem inspired by my favorite TV show, Breaking Bad. A case interview is a problem-solving test. Your interviewer asks you to solve a problem using a structured approach in 30 minutes or less. This means that you need to identify and solve all the mini problems that need to be addressed to solve the main problem. This is an example of a case interview. In this case, you need to help a manufacturer in the automotive industry decide whether to enter the airline industry. Remember when a minute ago I told you that consultants and high-performing candidates use a 4-step framework to approach problems. Let's talk about the first step. There is one mistake that leads to case interview rejection. Look at the following case example. In this case example, the word cars is ambiguous. Is it a random mass market car? Is it a four-wheel car? Or are we talking about Ferraris? Not only is it important to know to understand what your client does, but also because it can make you solve the wrong problem. To avoid solving the wrong problem, you must clarify the problem statement. How? First, clarify what the client does. Check the following areas in particular: the products, clients, distribution channels, the geography or the macroeconomic environment they operate in, and their limitations. Second, clarify how the customer defines success. What metric do they want to optimize? By how much and for when? For our Walter White case, clarifying questions might be: how does Walter White make money today? Can you tell me more about his product? What do small batches mean? Who are his customers? Where does he produce and sell his product? What does expanding his drug operations mean? How does he define success? Does he have any constraints I should be aware of? Know that we have a well-defined problem. We have a much bigger challenge ahead. As mentioned earlier, you need to identify all the mini problems that must be addressed to solve the main problem. And 90% of candidates fail their case interviews when building a framework. They miss important mini problems, or they force fit a framework that doesn't match the problem. So, how does high-performing candidates avoid making these mistakes? This is simple. There are 3 archetypes of business problems: diagnosis problems, take a strategic decision problems, and improve a metric problems. Problem archetype number 1, diagnosis. In a diagnosis problem, your client has a metric going in the wrong direction, for instance, declining sales or increasing costs, and they want to understand why this is happening. To approach diagnosis problems, you must answer 2 important questions: where and why. You first need to know where the problem is. To do so, break down the problem metric into an arithmetic equation. Later on, in the analysis phase, benchmarking actual and historical values for each variable in your equation will tell you what is numerically causing the problem. Once you have isolated the problem, you must answer the second question: why this problem happened. To do so, list all the potential reasons that might have caused this problem. It can be internal reasons, for instance, your client's operations, or it can be external reasons, for instance, the market, the competition, the customers, the suppliers, or the distributors. Problem archetype number 2, take a strategic decision. In a take a strategic decision problem, your client wants to check if the conditions to take a decision are met or not. In this problem archetype, You will find case questions such as launching a new product, acquiring a company, entering a new market. To approach these problems, you must identify the conditions that must be true to take this decision and the information you need in order to check the validity of these conditions. For instance, if your client wants to enter a new market, the decision-making criteria can be if their financial goals are met or not. The risks from taking this decision can be mitigated. They have the capabilities to enter this market. And finally, there is no better alternative. There is no more profitable, less risky, easier to implement decision. Here is an example showing a framework to analyze the financial criteria before entering a new market. Problem archetype number 3, improve a metric. In an improve a metric problem, your client wants a list of actions and the expected impact of these actions on a metric. In this problem archetype, you will find case questions such as increasing sales, decreasing cost, increasing productivity. The Walter White problem is an improve a metric problem. And to approach this type of problems, you must brainstorm, which means list all the potential initiatives that can impact the metric, and prioritize, which means estimate the impact of these initiatives on the metric. Here is an example of how to approach our Walter White case. Let's start by brainstorming ideas. Brainstorming ideas always starts with a quantitative breakdown of the metric. Once we have an equation, we can brainstorm ideas for optimizing each variable in that equation. For example, Walter White has 3 levers to increase the quantity of drugs he can sell, improve his product, improve the efficiency of his distribution channels, and improve his marketing strategy. And here you can see some potential initiatives Walter White can do for each lever. The next step will be to conduct a cost-benefit analysis of each initiative to determine which ones should be implemented. Until now, we have framed the problem by asking clarifying questions and built a framework by using the right problem archetype. Now, it's time to solve the mini problems in your framework. In case interviews, there are 5 types of analysis. Solve a quantitative problem, interpret a chart, estimate the size of something, brainstorm ideas, answer a meta question. Type of question number 1, solve a quantitative problem. This involves analyzing data to solve business-related problems. You may be asked to perform calculations such as profitability analysis, break-even analysis, or revenue growth estimations. Type of question number 2, interpret a chart. You are presented with visual data representations such as graphs, charts, or tables, and asked to draw meaningful insights. Type of question number 3, estimate the size of something. Often referred as market sizing, this analysis requires you to estimate the size of a market, usually with limited information. Type of problem number 4, brainstorm ideas. This involves generating a wide range of ideas or solutions to a given problem or challenge. You might be asked to think a new product ideas, ways to enter a market, or strategies to overcome a specific obstacle. Type of question number 5, answer a meta question. Meta questions require you to think about the thinking process itself. You might be asked to assess the approach taken to solve a problem, consider alternative methods of analysis, or evaluate the effectiveness of a proposed solution. But most candidates approach these questions poorly. High-performing candidates use 3 strategies to answer these questions and stand out from the pool of other candidates. Strategy number 1, they approach these questions like a new case. This means that they are not afraid to ask clarifying questions to ensure alignment with the interviewer's expectations. Strategy number 2, they are extremely structured. To be structured does not stop after you have presented your framework at the beginning of the case. High-performing candidates stand out with an exceptional ability to structure their thoughts throughout the case. Strategy number 3, it's all about the so what. Remember this, your job as a consultant is not to calculate data. Your job is to interpret data. Therefore, you must always discuss the implications of your analysis. There is one important question to ask yourself. What does this data mean for the client? After you have solved the many problems, it's time to communicate your recommendation, which is a very different game. When presenting your recommendation, you should switch from analysis mode to C-level presentation mode. How to make a C-level presentation and avoid that recommendation fall flat? Look at these 3 answers. Have you noticed? All these recommendations start with the answer first. They don't repeat the work done or some elements of context. Instead, they immediately tell the client what they must know about the problems and what they must do next. Okay, I have also made another video about how to build logic-driven frameworks. Click here to move your case-cracking skills to the next level.